So it's the end of the month and it's time for my January favorites. I just want to thank Hassan for requesting this video. I haven't done a favorites video in a while, so I always appreciate hearing from you guys what you would like to see. It makes it feel like a two-way street, you know, not like I'm just talking at you, but I'm talking with you, you know, it's a conversation. So please always feel free to make some suggestions. So the first favorite, as seen on the thumbnail, is the philodendron. What is going on here? Don't disrespect. Don't disrespect. The philodendron Dean McDowell. Like, talk about perfect leaves, okay? And I'm not really a stickler for perfect leaves. I don't mind when my leaves are a little, you know, have a little character to them, but these are literally perfect. Like, that's not why it's my favorite, because beauty is not perfection. It is just my favorite because it has completely transformed. So when I first got this plant, if you guys remember, if you've been watching my videos for a little while, you know that this plant I was actually on my regret list. And that was just because, not because of the plant itself, but just because of the way that it grows. So when I first got it, it was very gangly. It had 4 leaves and they were all over the place. And I do see often that people with crawlers have to kind of like stake them up and direct the leaves, because if not, they'll just go any direction, which I completely understand. But I just wasn't feeling it. So I ended up losing 3 out of the 4 leaves that it came with pretty quickly, and I only held on to 1 for a very long time, which I didn't really mind because, again, at least it wasn't all over the place. But once I moved here, it started doing this little thing. Summer hit, it got warm, and we started getting all of these leaves. So we did have 1 prior to these 3 leaves, which was the very first leaf in my care, and it looked a little funny. It wasn't perfect. It looked a little funny, but I wasn't mad. I was just happy that it was growing. And then I think eventually after that, we might have gotten this leaf, I believe, which it came out still a decent size. And then this one here. And then this one was the latest one, and you can kind of see it still has a little bit of the wet extra floral nectaries, and then you can kind of see the dark spots where it started to kind of dry down. And sometimes it'll burn it a little bit, but I don't really mind. I just think it looks so good. It's nice and tall, as you can see, in this little pot of leca. So I wouldn't normally like recommend to bury the stolon this deep, but with this, the way this stolon was growing, it was growing like kind of on its angle, and it was just very unstable. So I had to, and you can't see it. Well, actually you can see it. The stolon goes all the way back to here. So it literally goes like this, the stolon. So it was just, there was no way that I could lay it on top. So I had to bury it. With the leca though, I wasn't too worried because I feel like there's some begonia blooms in here. Those things drop everywhere. With the leca, it's pretty airy, right? And so if you leave the top dry, it's not too much of a worry for it to be rotting the stolon. And I usually put the water line, you know, pretty low in this container. So I wasn't worried. But now that I see this chunk looking like this, you know I want to chop it. So I initially chopped this chunk when I first got it. When I first got it and wanted to transition it to leca, it had a super long chunk. It was my first time like doing that, and I didn't know if I cut it in the right place or not. If I it was a little bit of a mess, but it did nothing. The chunk that I cut, I put it in a prop box for a very long time, and it did nothing for a very long time until I eventually let it go. So yeah, it did nothing. But now I feel like we have another opportunity, because this is still very green, and I feel like it's now or never. So I'm probably gonna do that really soon. It has some great roots off of it. I feel like for these leaves to be so huge, it's not a very rooty plant. Like, it has some here, right? Like I can see those there. Has a little bit here. There's a nice little juicy one there, but it's not a very rooty plant for it to have like these huge, beautiful leaves. I mean, there's only 3 leaves, but obviously it had previous leaves. Anyways, it's a gorgeous one. Definitely off my regrets list. And I'm so happy that it's growing like this. It's growing pretty, like each leaf is coming like right behind the other, and it wasn't like that when I first got it. So I'm pretty sure that has to do with light. I do have this southwest facing window here. It's not even southwest. I think it's just straight south. I don't recall, but there's a lot of light that comes into this window, so I'm sure that is what helps it. It sits like right to the left of me here, so it's a good amount, probably 3 feet away. It's not super close, but oh, these little they look so pretty. The EFNs are like glistening off the light and it looks so pretty, like little sparkles, little nature's crystals on the leaf. There isn't any pest. I know some people say like when you get a lot of EFNs, it's a sign of the plant fighting off pests, but I'm telling you guys, this is just an EFN heavy plant because it has, I'm scared to say it, but it's never had pests. I'm not a superstitious person, but I do feel like the moment I say, oh, it never gets pests, it's gonna get pests. So it's usually okay. So I don't think the EFNs are a sign of that. I think it's just like that because even when I got it from the person before me, the leaves that it came with also had the spots all over it because it's just the EFN heavy plant. But anyways, started the favorites off with a banger. Look at this beautiful baby. I don't know if I'm gonna get one more leaf before winter really sets in, but I wouldn't be mad if I didn't because these are amazing. Like I said, this is my 4th leaf throughout this year. This is the 4th leaf. There was one previous that dropped off when the last one came out. So I wouldn't be disappointed if I didn't get another leaf, but if I did get another leaf, bruh. It's, you know, I was gonna say this is my favorite for January, like my all-time favorite for the month, but no, it's not. It's gorgeous, but it's not quite. My next favorite is a dark and lovely girl, and that is my CHOCO red. It's a little baby, but look at these beautifully dark leaves. Like, whoo, I love this thing. Like, it's just so mesmerizing to see like the really dark leaves. It's like the luxuriance, but without the stress. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, besides this, sometimes every once in a while, like every few leaves, I'll get this where it rips a little bit. Part of this is my fault. It was stuck and I was not good at getting it unstuck. And so I ripped it, but it was probably going to rip even if I didn't help it, but I probably made it worse. But that does tend to happen a little bit. Like I got that on this leaf here. And I think another one, this one over here kind of has the same thing going on. So every other leaf is perfect, but then again, like I said, I'm not a stickler for perfect leaves. Even this cute one ripped to me is still really cute, even though it's ripped. So it's not gonna detract from the beauty for me. But what I was gonna say is that I get why people say like the Gloriosum is like a great beginner plant or a great beginner uncommon. It's not really uncommon anymore, but it's great for that, right? I kind of disagree. Only because, of course, my opinion is biased on my experience. This, to me, is the best, like, beginner uncommon plant. And that is just because it's so much prettier to me with how dark it is. Like, I love a good Gloriosum, especially the zebra with the veining is beautiful. But look at this darkness here. If you like dark, velvety leaves, like this is the epitome of that. And so the main reason why I feel like this is an excellent beginner plant is because look at how it grows. It grows like no other. It grows like a beast, and CHOCOs are known for this type of burst of growth. Like I got this as a 1-leaf bud cut months ago. Ended up chopping it because the chunk was so long. I air layered it and then chopped it. This is one, I don't think it's one growth point. It can't because there's 2. This isn't, it wasn't a super huge piece of chunk. It was just, you know, regular size piece of chunk, but it activated both growth points and has been growing several leaves back to back the entire time. It's not like some plants where like they'll activate 2, but eventually one will die off. This doesn't do that. This continues to put out leaf after leaf. And I think, is it this one? Yeah, I was talking about this on my stories to you guys because hopefully you can see it here. This, let me see, part the Red Sea here. This thing put out 2 at the same time. So you can see one here is furrowed, the other one still furrowed. They came out literally back to back. It did not even put out one before the other started coming out. Like, this plant is a beast. And this is not a one-off because I have a little baby here which came off of this plant. The trunk, like I said, was super long, chopped it, got another little baby out of it, and it's doing the same thing. Like, this plant is wild. It will definitely boost your confidence in your plant care game because look, these are a little twisted, but you can see what I'm talking about when I say like this thing grows leaf after leaf. Like no, like it does not hold back at all. Roots very easily, gives you beautiful little leaves very early on. Like, you don't have to wait. Like, you don't have to wait for the plant to grow up to enjoy the features. You still get this beautiful dark velvetyness very early on. Like, I just love this. It sticks out so much in my cabinet among all my other plants, even though it's small, because of how dark it is. It just adds dimension to your collection. Like, if you use your plants in your living room or your room or whatever to add decor, this is a must. Like, if you like the Gloriosum, you're gonna love this here. And I don't know, I know my opinion is biased, like I said, because my experience with my Gloriosum has been tragic, but this one, I feel like even if my Gloriosum grew well this whole time, right, and I had this one, I would still recommend this one more because of how beautiful it is. Like, it's beautiful and easy. Like, come on now. How often does that happen with plants? Like, I can't get enough of this. El Choco Red, second favorite for the month of January, growing in Leca. Grew this one from a chunk. The original leaf, long gone. So I'm looking at all the plants that I have and they're all philodendrons except one. So let me do that one real quick. That one, you know, I had to throw a Hoya. You know, I had to get a Hoya in here. The Hoya, I call it a crash splash because it's the easiest thing for me to say. But look at this. I really love green on green variegation. Like, that green on green variegation and dark velvety leaves are right now my favorite foliage. And this is everything to me. Like, everything. So these top leaves came out a little lighter because as this was growing initially, let me see, initially it was on the top shelf of my shelf and so the grow light was pretty close. I remember because the top of it was here and it was like I had it on the edge so that this could because this was too tall, and so these got bleached, so I moved it down, so now it's like this, so it's a little bit further away. Thank goodness, because there is 2 other little tiny leaves right above the clip that's going to be coming out hopefully sometime soon, because I feel like those have been sitting there for a little while. Hopefully it's not too tight against, I mean, it's just clipped on. I think it should be fine. Yeah, looking at it now, I wish I hadn't bleached these leaves, but you know, some Hoyas, they can be right under the grow light, and most, I will say most that I know in my experience of the few that I have can be right under the grow light and not really burn. But these, I think because the leaves are supposed to be a little bit darker, are a little bit easier to burn because it doesn't, I guess it doesn't sun stress. But either way, I still think it's gorgeous. I think it came with these 2 lower leaves here. This one was maybe emerging, and then these came in my care, and then these 2 here. So I've only had it, I hope I haven't been out of the frame all the way up here. Oh gosh, I always do that. I don't have my monitor, sorry. Oh, it has another little, okay, well, there's a tendril here, but it's quite brown, so it's not green anymore. I don't think it's gonna do anything. I'll have some good little roots over here. So it's looking good. It's looking good. It's definitely one of my favorites. I wanted to put more Hoyas on my January favorites, but I want to always kind of like mix it up and give you guys a variety and not just show the same things, because I'm doing another video, not specifically about Hoyas, but I will be talking about and showing a lot of them. So I don't want to double dip, but I still wanted to truthfully tell you what my favorites are. So this is definitely up there on my favorites of my Hoyas right now. Let's make sure we're still recording. We good, we good. So on that theme of green on green variegation, we have my Philodendron variegated heteroraceum. So this is the bottom cut. I actually just recently chopped this into maybe 3 or 4 pieces. So it originally came to me with these 2 leaves, and I'll show you guys the other pieces. And I think I put a picture recently on my Instagram. If so, I'll put it on the screen at some point. This is my favorite this month because of the variation in the color. So, and I also too feel like green on green variegation is good for people that maybe they're not really into variegation, but they kind of want to be, but they just not seeing one that they like. Green on green might be a good one because it's subtle. Like this is super, super subtle, right? But then look at the mid cuts. Like you can see the gradient now. So here's the mid cuts that are a little bit more distinct. Not a whole lot, but still more distinct than the original leaves, I should say. Like these. We have a little bit more color there. Oh, we're dropping dirt. But then look at the top cuts. Like, boom. Even more distinct, the variegation. Like, this is the newest leaf, I believe. I think these are either cut into 2 or 3 pieces, but look how different they are. We went from this to this. I love watching plants grow in general, right? Because you don't know how big the leaf is gonna be. Is it gonna be, you know, perfect? Is it gonna come out right? But then on top of that, it might look different and have a different pattern. Like, look at how different they are. I feel like with variegation, of course, there's always a variation, right, on how variegated the leaves are gonna be. But with this heart leaf, it's pretty stable. I don't even think, this one is kind of sort of a half moon, but when I see them for sale, I don't see very many reverted ones. I don't see people selling reverted ones. I don't see as many with like this half moon variegation. Like they usually look a lot like this one here and these 2 here. So I've seen it to be pretty stable variegation, but still giving you so much variety in color. I think my favorite is this mid cut here with this like minty green on green, like subtle, I don't know, I just love it. I just think it looks so good. And when it's on one plant and you see that whole gradient, it's just, I don't know. So what I'm wondering now is what's happening that the new leaves look like this and they'll eventually go down. Is that what happens with this? What do y'all think? I haven't had it for a super long time. I've only had it probably for 6 months. So I don't know. Do you think it goes down and it starts off that way and then it'll eventually look like this? We're gonna have to see. If anybody in the comments, let me know. If you guys have one, let me know what is the like characteristics of yours. Does it do that? Either way, I will be happy because I love all 3 stages of it. So this one is in dirt because it's gonna be going into my plant wall in the living room. So I just potted this up into here a couple weeks ago. This is kind of like I can't even call this I was doing like a chunky propagation method. Oh, I think these have roots. I think that's why I just put it into dirt. Yeah, okay. So I put this plant originally on a moss pole, which I never really intended to size up the leaves or anything. I don't even know why I put it on a moss pole, but I'm glad that I did because then it had roots. So it had roots. I was able to pot it right up into the soil from the moss pole and just have it keep on going from there. So this is gonna go on the plant wall. And then once this grows some roots, because this is the top cut, it doesn't have any roots, this was probably just gonna go back into the original pot of pond. Or maybe I'll make a 3rd plant because why not? Oh, and maybe I'll put it in my sunroom because plants love my sunroom. And I can't imagine having a full basket of this, like how I have my Brazil. I would have put my Brazil as a favorite, but I want to be able to show it here to you guys. And that thing is beautifully massive thanks to my southwest facing window. Is it southwest or is it just south? I'd have to check, but the point is that the thing is big and beautiful and I can't really bring it here. So should we stay on the theme of the green on green? No, 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 no. Let's switch it up and let's go back to the dark and velvety. And for dark and velvety, we're back on to the Splendid, another philodendron. I wonder, is the El Choco Red a hybrid? I'd have to check. I don't think so. But this is the hybrid between what? Varicosum and Melanochrysum? I'll put it on the screen. I can't remember. But look at these newest leaves. Like, talk about dark and velvety. Is it catching the shimmer that it be given? I hope it is. You know, if it's not, I'm gonna throw it up on the screen. So clearly this plant had a rough start. When I received it, it was perfectly fine. I had some cute little leaves that were perfectly fine. I don't even think these are the original leaves that I had got it with. And then it just got super attacked all up in here is when it started to struggle because it was attacked by spider mites. And this was then when I finally realized that neem oil worked is about roundabout here, and we actually started getting some good looking leaves that were looking healthy. I believe at first I just had it on a stake, probably around this range here, and then I finally got it onto this pole around here, and it's been doing glorious ever since. This kind of like damage here is not pest damage. It was kept rubbing up against the corner of this pole, and then there was another plant right next to it, so it was just getting a little beat up, but that's okay because look at these. Like, and I like that they kind of hang right next to each other. And then we're gonna have this one right here. Like, whew, if this leaf has fully unfurled by the time I put this video up, I will put it there on the screen because it's gonna be a good one. I hope it's gonna be a good one. It does look a little, now that I look at it, it looks a little funny, but that's okay because we still have these two cute leaves. So I have this air layering because it grew off the pole, but I wasn't ready to chop it because this latest node, hold up, this latest node here didn't have roots yet, and so I didn't want to chop these 3 leaves up top here without roots. So I figured I might as well air layer this and put some more moss around here, and hopefully I'll get some roots before I chop it. And I'll probably chop it here and start this part as a new plant, and then maybe make another plant out of this. And then I don't I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. Like, I wouldn't give this away because it just looks really crazy, but maybe I would use it to make another decent looking plant and then give it away. But yeah, look at it. I really love a good dark velvety leaf. Like, whoo, it looks so good. Yeah, I did like I started playing around a lot with my camera and the flash on my camera to pick up like different lights and shimmers and colors in my plants, and I definitely had fun with this one. I will put it up on the screen because it was looking so good. So sometimes when you want your leaves to be super dark and velvety, it's kind of a little bit of a game, right? To figure out exactly how much light it may or may not need. It obviously still needs a great decent amount of light in order for it to grow properly, but direct light is probably not the best for it. So it does sit near my south facing window, but it's literally like if the light comes in this way directly, it sits right back here so that the direct light goes this way, but it still gets, you know, some offshoot of that direct light. So it's not direct, but it's still bright. Indirect, bright light. That's all I'm trying to say. But sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, when I was first starting out with plants and everything and lighting and figuring all that out, I could not understand what bright indirect light was. Like, I just didn't understand the concept of light traveling and how it reaches and directions and all that. I just didn't understand that. So anytime I would hear bright indirect light, I'm just thinking not a whole lot of light. I'm thinking medium light, but that's really not it. It really means the direction of the light, if it's directly on the leaves or if it's passing by or if it's shaded by something. So it's not shaded by anything, it's just right back out of the direct beam of, really? All I was trying to say was it needs bright indirect light. The train station is literally right in front of my building, and anytime people step out in front of the train, they always honk them. Like, why are you stepping out in front of the train anyways? Back to the green on green variegation. Let's take it over to the Philodendron giganteum. Loving it. So this one is it's a mix. It does give white. Let's see. This leaf here, you can see it does give white and green on some leaves, which I actually do prefer. And then one like here is a little more white and green. But then sometimes it'll be giving you a little yellow mix or a little green mix. I'm not sure how it's showing up on the camera, but to me, like this one is looking a little more yellow on green, and this one is looking a little more green on green. Either way, it's still a favorite. My favorite leaf, however, okay, so my favorite leaf fell off. It was the first leaf actually, and it fell off, but this is my next favorite. Because the pattern, I love marbled variegation over chunky color block variegation. So this is right up my alley. And you know what, to be honest, I know this is a giganteum, so it's gonna grow gigantic, but I don't think I'm gonna like it when it's gigantic. I feel like that because I think I've seen a few right on Instagram that have been grown, you know, pretty large. And I just felt that the variegation was a little overwhelming, and I didn't really like it as a large plant. Now, don't think that I'm not gonna let this plant grow out. I'm still gonna let it grow out, but I anticipate that I'm not gonna love it as much. So I'm really like taking it in and loving it the way it is now as this cute little bush where they're all kind of like growing forward, because I don't know, I feel like I'm not gonna like it once the leaves are really huge. But right now though, whew, it looks so good. So this plant had a long journey as well. I imported this plant several, probably a year ago by now. Has it been a year? This was my second time ever importing plants, and it dropped all but one leaf for a very long time. I was stuck with one leaf and no roots, and then it finally started pushing out a leaf and some roots. So that original leaf is obviously long gone. The first leaf in my care is long gone, and I think only this is the second one yet, because I remember complaining about why it came out so small compared to the very first leaf that I got was much larger than this. There might have been one more, but either way, this is one of the original leaves, but it's looking good. It's putting out one here. It grows pretty consistently with in terms of size, the way it's sizing up and like how rapidly it grows. It grows pretty back to back, like leaf after leaf. So it does get a lot. Does it get, where did I put it? I used to have it on I used to grow this in my cabinet for a long time, but it kind of grew out of it. So I put it on a shelf that has a light like right above it. So right now it's getting bright direct light, but I don't know exactly. I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to play with the light. I don't know exactly how that's going to affect the way the leaves look. If you guys have one, let me know how you have yours growing and how you think it's affecting the variegation. It definitely needs to be potted up in a permanent substrate so I can take my perlite back. I don't know why I haven't potted it up yet. It's ready to go into a bigger pot. I guess that'll be a good time then. Once it's ready, it's ready. It's definitely ready. It's gonna go into a bigger pot for sure. But yeah, it's very, very happy. Oh, this leaf is okay. This is my favorite leaf right here. Favorite leaf. It looks so good. I hope it's in focus. I hope I didn't frame. I'm not too up too high. Oh my goodness. Is that our last one? Okay, I have one honorary mention, and I call it an honorary mention because it's not technically a plant right now, and that is my Philodendron glorious. Talk about a dark velvety leaf. Yes, there are other plants in here. Ignore that. We are talking about the glorious here. And this leaf, as beautiful as it is actually not my favorite. The one that's my favorite is this one. Beauty is not perfection, like I said. So even though this leaf isn't perfect, look how dark and deep the veining is. Like, are you catching this? Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Like, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Like, it is so gorgeous. And I literally, it sits like up here on this shelf here, and I can see it from when I come in the door across the room. It just stands out because it's so dark. And I don't know, I find this kind of cute, the way this got a little caught up like this. It makes it a little chubbier and round. I don't know. I mean, this leaf is nice, but the darkness of this leaf is so giving. So it's not technically a plant because I just chopped it. Doesn't have any roots. It's just a water prop right now. I chopped it off of, if you can see this plant back here, it does have an activated growth point there. So when everything is ready, it'll all be repotted together. I also have some other props over here. I propped these a long time ago. It's put out several leaves off of this prop and several roots, but I'm just not ready to pot it all together yet. And I know that I don't have to put it on a moss pole because these leaves grew this size just on a bamboo stake, and these leaves weren't even attached to the stake. These leaves were way off the stake by the time that these developed. So is it working on another leaf already? Oh my goodness, is that this plant? Oh wow. Okay, I just want to show y'all this. So I chopped this, what, a week ago maybe? So this was the leaf. I'm pretty sure the growth of this was stunted because I chopped it like when it was still, it was either still emerging or still furrowed. So it came out small. But, oh wait, I guess it's not a part of this. So what part is that plant of? What is this? Oh, so I saw this and thought that it was a part of this and that it was already working on another leaf, but it's my Pariso, my reverted Pariso. Anyway, so it's not working on another leaf, JK, but it still just looks so good. Looks so good still. Very gorgeous. Thank you again, Hassan, for requesting this video. I haven't done it, seriously? What's, Mia, did you? My light is plugged into the wall and Mia just laid her head over the cord. Mia. Excuse me. Thank you. I guess it's my fault because I have the cord near her bed. Can you move your, Mia, leave it. Anyways, like I was saying, thank you again for requesting this video. It was really fun to just sit down and chat about my favorite plants. I don't know why I haven't done this. I guess sometimes I feel like I need to be like always giving you guys information, but sometimes we could just chill and talk about plants too. I like doing that. I guess I just don't be knowing all the time what y'all want to see and what y'all want to hear. So please, like I mentioned, always feel free to let me know what you guys would like to see and hear. I really appreciate it. So that was my favorites for January, but unfortunately not all of my plants do so well and look so good all the time. So here is a video about all the plants I killed in 2022.